Taffers one and all, let's take a look at the future of the immersive sim. These smaller independent developers are carrying the torch moving forward, just like smaller developers have been doing with the Metroidvania genre the last decade or so. At Realms Deep, we saw the unveiling of a couple of upcoming immersive sims, Graven and Core Decay. These aren't large AAA budgets with large teams, these are smaller studios going the indie route with immersive sims. This isn't Arcane being backed by Bethesda or Eidos Montreal being backed by Square Enix. I've had my eye on a couple of other indie-based immersive sims, one being Gloomwood, which I did a video on the demo a few months ago, and Weird West by Wild Wolf, which is being led by Rafael Colantonio, the former founder of Arcane Studios who left back in 2017. From the ashes, the immersive sim rises again, and that seems to happen every once in a little while.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
It's a genre that's been known to kill studios, typically doesn't sell well but has a devoted audience, but has it ever really been dead?
No one's ever really gone.
I was just going to do this video on Graven, Core Decay, Gloomwood, and Weird West, but after a Twitter post, I got a whole bunch of indie-based immersive sims tossed my way, so thanks to everyone who contributed to that thread. Let's take a look at the landscape of indie-based immersive sims that are not only on the horizon, but what's come out the last few years, the variety and scope they cover, and what it means for the future of the immersive sim.
That new life is going to come back in style.
It looks like immersive sim veteran Harvey Smith was right. We are seeing an explosion of indie-made immersive sims, which he predicted a few years ago, but more on that later. While the AAA space is still working on immersive sims, with Arcane putting out Deathloop next year, and Stalker 2 going to finally see the light of day, the future of the immersive sim looks bright with smaller studios who don't need to sell multi-million copies just to be seen as a success, and fill that void that's been left the last few years since Dishonored 2, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and Prey, while all fantastic games undersold. Like the Metroidvania genre, which is one of my favorite genres, it looks like the future of immersive sims will be carried by the smaller, more independent studios. We've seen some resurgence of retro-based shooters the last few years, now known as boomer shooters. So is there a boomer equivalent to this? Boommersive sim? Huh? Come on, I was saying Boommersive. So grab your Monster energy drinks and try 0451 on every keypad. In the description, I'll be linking to these games, most of them Steam pages, for those that exist, or Twitter pages for those that don't have them. If there are any other indie-based immersive sims coming up that I missed, feel free to leave a comment below, because I love to collect them and see what they're all about. Starting with Gloomwood, which I did a video on about the Gloomwood demo a couple of months ago. Gloomwood has a spirited thief, mixing the gothic horror influence from Bloodborne, and some looping level design akin to the Resident Evil games. Graven, coming from developer Slipgate Ironworks and published by Boomer favorite 3D Realms, looks like a mixture of Hexen and Dark Messiah, as the top comment says on the video on YouTube.
No need to own ships of land when they can scarcely dare come near.
Core Decay is another title from 3D Realms, wearing the original Deus Ex influence on its sleeve. Plus, I love the voice actor doing his best JC Denton impression here.
The Accord has kept records of every site we've been to. Why would they keep this one hidden?
What a shame. He was a good man. What a rotten way to die.
Weird West, coming from Wild Wolf Studios, being led by Rafael Colantonio, formerly of Arcane Studios, is going for an isometric style in a still criminally underused setting of the Wild West. Peripetia, which on their Twitter page says literally Polish Deus Ex, which if that doesn't sell you on it, I don't know what will. Shout out to the developers of this game as they provide a bunch more immersive sims for me to look at, so let's get to them. We have Monomyth, a dungeon crawler taking from the worlds of Arx Factalis, Ultima Underworld, and the King's Field series. Shadows of Doubt is a first-person detective stealth game set in a fully simulated sci-fi noir city, which sounds like a nice combination of Blade Runner and LA Noire.
After I scared him off? No, I didn't go anywhere near that car.
While it seems to be stuck in some weird limbo with their publisher, Synther takes an adventure-like detective element set in a futuristic open world. Hopefully they're able to settle everything with the publisher. Keeping with the theme of noir, there's Fallen Aces. It's a crime noir that plays right out of the 90s and looks right out of the comics. These titles in particular look interesting to help scratch that itch that's mostly been there since LA Noire released nearly a decade ago.
Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him, Horatio. Is it real?
Fletcher looks like a dark and retro future thief. Cruelty Squad from Consumer Soft Products is described as a low polygon depiction of violence, decapitation, dismemberment, and has an interesting style. Sorceress is a first-person based magic game where you play as a young sorceress exploring a castle and overcoming its challenges and masters. With barrel kicking, that's a love letter right to Dark Messiah. Terminus Cyberstar is an immersive sim in the vein of late 90s PC games like Deus Ex and System Shock 2.
No, I wanted orange. It gave me lemon lime.
Safe Not Safe is a stealth game that allows you to crack vaults with some randomly generated levels. Looking to the immersive sims with a survival horror-based influence, there's titles like Red Frontier 2, looks to take a lot of cues from Alien Isolation and the System Shock series. Ad Infernum, stranded alone at a gas station in the middle of the desert. Dark rituals, demonic pursuers, no escape. And of course, if we're talking about survival horror and a lot of that System Shock influence, we gotta talk about System Shock itself. Well, there's the System Shock remake from Night Dive Studios, which hopefully will get its way out this year. I did a video about the demo a few months back. They've also announced to do an enhanced edition of System Shock 2, but not much really to say on that so far. And System Shock 3, well, it's had a bit of a rocky development, and well, it's now under the control of Tencent. Well, at least they won't be running out of money anytime soon. So that's quite a bit when it comes to immersive sims on the horizon. And again, as I mentioned, if I've missed any that you think are notable, please point them out in the comments below, because I love to take a look at them, and maybe another video will come as a result. But on the smaller studios, what's come out the last few years in regards to immersive sim products? Wildfire, which came out a few months ago, is actually a 2D pixel-based game, making use of fire and elements to get around and outsmart enemies, and it takes a lot of cues from Far Cry 2 in regards to the fire spreading system. There was Underworld Ascendant, which didn't exactly set the world on fire. Another that was pointed out in that thread was high entropy challenges, using computers, unlock doors, crawl through vents, fight enemies head on, or find other ways to neutralize or avoid them. Spirit of Xanadu is an atmospheric exploration game set aboard a deserted starship in the alternate 1980s. Project Exhibited takes a lot from the Dishonored and Thieves series, and fitting for a game done by a group called Team Thieves.
Going back to my position before the boss notices I'm gone. Go look out in the garden.
Brigand It's Mexican Deus Ex. The Snake has a great video on it, and he's a great channel that I highly recommend you check out. Neon Struct is a stealth game taking its cues from Thief with great focus on using audio as part of the stealth, which so many games like to avoid and go visually based. Consortium, a murder mystery on a plane in the future. I've seen people describe this basically as an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, and I do look forward to checking it out one day.
I could tell.
There's quite a bit on the indie scene from the last few years, but it looks like we're about to get an explosion, as Harvey Smith mentioned. While most of these games are in first person, we do see a couple of exceptions, such as Weird West being an isometric perspective. It's interesting to see these settings, some varying from noir, to cyberpunk, to the criminally underused Wild West setting.
What a shame.
Some look like they take more from Ultima or Arx Fatalis, some from Dark Messiah, some from System Shock, Thief, Dishonored, but they all have that same DNA at its core. A quote that popped in my head while making this video is about the band The Velvet Underground, that their first album only sold 10,000 copies, but everyone who did buy a copy did form a band. To me, when I think of immersive sims, that while most of them did not sell well, those that did play them left a mark on them, and for a lot of developers, it got them into it to begin with. In a way like how with Metroidvanias, Super Metroid, or Symphony of the Night influenced them to make their own games. So I came across a couple of articles from 2017 where Harvey Smith, Immersive Sim veteran, best known for working on Deus Ex and the Dishonored series, had this to say. You notice that the production values in indie games are going up, so we're right around the corner from maybe a Cambrian explosion of the walking simulator getting to the next level where it's like one step more dynamic, in the sense that things are happening in the world. You'll have adapting AAA games that bring the values forward into some new form, you'll have people that are true to the original form, and you also have indie games that are like, well, we can't do everything, but we could take most of this. As a result of higher production values for indie games, it's become more and more feasible for these developers to step in and fill this void that larger developers are leaving, especially since 2016-2017 when we kind of saw the last major AAA immersive sims with Dishonored series and Deus Ex and Prey. Rafael Colantonio, the founder of Arcane Studios, who left after he released Prey in 2017, had this to say about AAA that you're not making a game anymore, you're making a product, because the numbers to recoup a AAA game are so high to begin with. I really have to give props to him for taking that risk and leaving and going back to square one with the smaller team and seeing what comes of it. So now the question is, will these games be successful? Well, as mentioned, these games don't need to sell millions of copies to be considered a success, unlike those in the AAA space. The few exceptions to large sellers like Dishonored and Deus Ex Human Revolution, immersive sims have mostly been a niche focus. Many of the titles not selling to publishers' expectations, and become more noticed as time goes on, long after many of these studios are shut down, such as the case of Looking Glass or even Ion Storm. So while there are still some immersive sim titles with larger budgets and AAA production, like Deathloop on the horizon, the future of the immersive sim looks to be more in line with the Metroidvania, which is mostly filled of independent developers on a smaller scale, willing to take risks, have smaller teams, and don't need to sell millions of copies to be considered a success. And I look forward to seeing how all these games turn out. I do hope that they all turn out to be excellent, because I like what I've been seeing, and it looks like a number of others are as well. And who knows, maybe larger publishers will see there's still value in this style of game as well, and take further cracks at it at a larger scale. My hope is that Square Enix will take a look at the success of Cyberpunk 2077 and realize that there's still plenty of fuel in the tank on the Cyberpunk front, and give us a conclusion of that Adam Jensen's story of Deus Ex instead of having them work on Marvel properties. Ugh.
What the gabagool?
Who the
Shame.
f asked you?
Shut the fuck up!
I do hope these indie immersive sims are spread out a bit as far as releases go, so I don't get decision paralysis and don't have a huge backlog. As much as I am a patient gamer with these games, I'm definitely willing to take a much closer look sooner on. So long live the Boomer Sim, the Boommersive Sim, whatever you want to call it. I look forward to seeing what the future holds for it. My mandated break for punching boulders is over, so if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. I've done a bunch of immersive sim videos in the past, including Deus Ex, Thief 1 and 2, Dishonored 2, Mankind Divided. In the comments, if there's some future indie-based immersive sims that I missed out, please let me know, because I love to collect them. Anyways, I gotta go back to punching boulders. Boulder punch out.